Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Glock 17. And that's pretty anticlimactic. Nothing really too special to say about the Glock 17. What makes this one slightly special is it is a C model, which in and of itself is not that special either. But what truly does make this special is this is a C model Gen 5. Now, if you're not familiar with exactly what a C model is, it is a factory porting option that comes directly from Glock. These have been around for a very long time in the Gen 3 and Gen 4. Now, Glock never actually offered the C cut, or what they call the C model, on the Gen 5, but luckily the GlockStore out of Nashville, Tennessee took it on themselves to do it for us, since Glock never got around to it. Now, C model Glocks are one of the first ported pistols that I ever fired, and I have always been a fan of it, and I've really been wishing Glock would get around to doing it to the Gen 5, so I'm glad that the GlockStore is now offering this. There's several ways that you can get this. You can buy a slide that already has it done direct from the GlockStore, or you can send in your slide and have it done, and that is the option I chose to do. They also offer a 10-day turnaround time. So from the time they receive your slide to the time that it ships out, they guarantee that it will be 10 days or less. Now, from the time my slide was delivered to the time that it was shipped back out to me was 8 days exactly. So they were able to live up to that 10-day guarantee as they promised. They offer this service on a wide variety of pistols. I chose to have it done on a 17, but you could get it done on a 47, 19, 49, 43X, 48, I'm sure some others as well. It's just really cool that you can get this OEM style cut now on a Gen 5. And that is one thing I will say about it. It is identical in every way, especially to the naked eye, to the factory OEM Glocks that have been coming like this for years in the Gen 3 and Gen 4. If you saw this, you would never even question that it was done on the aftermarket. You would definitely think it came this way straight from the factory. Now, there is a whole lot of really good porting jobs out there that you can have done these days. This one is very simple in the fact that you just have the window cuts right there on top, and then you have the corresponding slits in the barrel. If you're looking for something that is more simple but also functional and looks a little bit more factory-ish, this definitely would be a good option, assuming that it is reliable. I've had this back for about a week now. In that time, I have put 600 rounds through this pistol. The slide was already dirty when I sent it to them. I took it out of the box, slapped it right back on the lower, and went to town. 600 rounds later, zero malfunctions. When it comes to ported guns, obviously the benefits are reduced recoil and reduced muzzle climb, but if it's not reliable, it's really not worth it. The juice just simply isn't worth the squeeze. Something else to keep in mind if you are going to port a gun, whether it is this one or any other option for that matter, if you do port it, you do not want to shoot plated ammunition through that gun. So a lot of ammunition, despite the fact that it says full metal jacket, will actually not be safe to shoot through a ported gun. A Blazer is a good example of that. This is some really popular ammo. It says FMJ right on the box, but it also says on the box in the fine print that it's not safe in ported guns. If you're not 100% sure if you have true FMJ ammo, you can just reach out to the manufacturer, ask them, they'll tell you if it's safe or not. Regardless if it's this gun or any others, that's just a good idea when it comes to ports. Now, once you've had your gun ported and you have proved out that it is reliable, the next thing you're going to wonder about is how much does it actually reduce that muzzle climb and felt recoil. I would definitely not say this is the most effective, but it still does a good job. I don't have a scientific way to test that, so we're just going to do a little bit of redneck science. We're going to compare this to a stock 17 and also a 17 with a comp and see if we can tell the difference. Just going to quickly go over all three guns that we're going to compare. First up is a Gen 5 Glock 17. We have an aim point acro and a streamlight weapon light. No ports, no comp. Next is another Gen 5 17 streamlight weapon light, Holosun 509T optic, and we do have the C cut from the GlockStore. And last but not least, we have a Gen 5 45 aim point acro, the same streamlight weapon light, and this one is rocking the Radiant Ramjet compensator. Now something like that is very unscientific, and it's hard to really come across on camera exactly what I'm feeling, but hopefully you can tell there's definitely a difference. When you go to a stock 17, something uncomped and unported, there's definitely more felt recoil flip. Now, I have to go ahead and give a disclaimer right here. Some of the best shooting I have ever done in my life has been with a stock 17. Skill, proper grip, proper pressures, proper technique, all of that is going to get you way further than any fancy gizmo that you can bolt on your gun. Getting that grip down, getting all of that dialed in is going to get you light years ahead of a fancy gizmo like this. But with that said, they do help. And once you do have those techniques really dialed in, something like this can really take it to the next level. So I am a fan. Now, as far as the felt recoil difference between the C-Cut and something like the Radiant Ramjet, there is a difference. Now, I am definitely a fan of the Radiant Ramjet. I have quite a few of these, and it is hands down my favorite compensator for a Glock. Just something you can bolt on and go with, and then maybe pull back off later on. This is hands down my favorite. Matter of fact, this is actually one of my carry guns right here, this Model 45. I've shot dozens of different challenges and quals and demos and everything else using this gun right here, and it is definitely one of my favorites. And as far as the direct recoil comparison between the two, they're just simply different. They're accomplishing the same thing, but they're doing it in a different way. As a general rule, I find compensators to have less recoil as far as what you actually feel in the hand, but they are a little bit more flippy, versus when you go to something ported, C-Cut being no exception, it is simply flatter, but you do feel more recoil in the hand. That's not just these two models, that's really any compensator versus porting, at least in my experience. So that's a long way around just to say they're both pretty good, but that's about all I can tell you without you actually going out and trying them yourself. Now, I can't talk about prices, but one good thing about the C-Cut is it is way cheaper than something like the Radiant Ramjet. One good thing about the Ramjet is this is not a permanent modification, so you could easily take this off the gun if you needed to get rid of it or change it out down the road, whereas once you do something like this, there's no going back. So we covered reliability, we covered the reduction in recoil in muzzle flip, so what's next? Well, accuracy. Sometimes when you port a pistol, there can be a loss at accuracy, and you will really notice it when you start to stretch out those distances to 20, 25 yards and maybe even further. So that's definitely something you need to test with your gun if you get it ported. And that's also a reason you do not want to get it ported from some just random person. You want to get someone who knows what they're doing. So the next thing we're going to test is that accuracy. We're going to take the 17 with the C-Cut and put it head to head as far as accuracy to the 17, wrong gun, to the 17 with no ports. Do a quick accuracy test. I got a target downrange at 25 yards. What we're going to do is simply fire a 5-round group with each pistol. First up is going to be the Glock 17 Gen 5. This is the one with the C-Cut porting from the GlockStore. And then we have a stock 17 Gen 5 to compare it to. The only difference between them is going to be the optics. That is very acceptable accuracy for pistols like these, at least in my opinion. 25 yards, shooting around a 2-inch group, maybe even a little bit under, with me pulling the trigger, not too bad. Seems to be no change in accuracy after doing the porting, so that is definitely a good thing. Also worth mentioning, I'm running 124 grain American Eagle ammo, just ball ammo, in both of these pistols. Obviously, it is not zeroed with that ammo. I have also had the optic off of both of these pistols in pretty recent days, so they're not perfectly zeroed. But for this test, that really wasn't important since all we're looking at is group size. Just wanted to mention that because anytime I do an accuracy test and I'm not hitting the exact center of the target, someone always asks what is wrong. When you're measuring accuracy, hitting the center of the target is really not important. We're just looking at that group size, and then you can pull that zero in later on. If you enjoyed today's video, or maybe you watched some of my other videos and you found it entertaining, or hopefully you found the information helpful, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to my channel, maybe drop a like or comment. It does go to help me out. So, would I recommend the C-Cut from the GlockStore? Yes, absolutely. As of right now, I really do like this. I may even have another one done in the future. If you're wanting something that is a OEM-ish look, if you're wanting something that's functional but it's not too crazy, if you're wanting something that seems to keep that Glock reliability that we all know and love, yes, I would recommend this. I have always been a fan of the C models. I'm glad we can now get it in the Gen 5. Even if Glock didn't do it for us, I'm glad the GlockStore did, and I think they did a really good job. I don't think it could have been done any better, even by Glock. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found the information helpful. If you would like to contact me directly, there's several ways you can do that. My email is down in the description of this video. You'll also find a link to my Instagram and my Facebook. That is going to be the best way to contact me. And if you're not following me there, I would appreciate that as well. I post a lot of content on Instagram, and I also mirror that over on Facebook. It just simply never all makes it to YouTube. A lot of stories and little posts and shares and things like that. So if you're interested in this type of content or just anything to do with shooting, you might want to check those out. As always, thanks for watching. See y'all next time. $165 or office. $157 with a Charlie.